And welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman. This is our January transfer window review. I'm going to be looking back at the signings for Fulham. Both of them happened yesterday, and I'll be sharing my thoughts on that. We actually did a show yesterday to the very end of the transfer window. Me and the Fulham shadow, Emilio Dino, we did a show. So this is now looking back at the window as a whole. I'll also be mentioning my thoughts on the players that went out. And later on in the show, I'm going to play a little game. And if you're watching live, feel free to chime in as well. We're going to look at the summer transfer window, each individual player. And I'm going to ask the question of these signings, hit or miss. We'll go through all of them. And that's basically going to be the show. I do want to mention, as always, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. Before I go on any further to talk about the window and the Fulham players that arrived, I do want to mention this. I want to give a huge thank you to everyone that has watched and listened to the last episode from last night. As of right now, we've had over 1,500 downloads of Cottage Talk's Transfer Deadline Day special show. So I just want to thank everyone that's done that. We really appreciate that and help this podcast grow even more. We've been doing it for 11 years and it continues to grow. So before I go on any further, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. And as always, I want to mention one last thing. We are now part of the talkSPORT fan network, and talkSPORT will be having a promotional campaign that we'll be talking about that coming up soon. But I also want to mention our partnership is now being part of the talkSPORT fan network. Okay, so let's now get to it. Let's talk about the January transfer window. Before I share my thoughts, I'm going to ask a question to the audience watching live. Are you happy with the window? I really want your thoughts on this. So I did a poll earlier on the Cottage Talk Twitter page, and I had about 140 votes. And I asked the question, are you happy? And yes was at 90%. No was at 10%. So that shows a significant amount of Fulham supporters are happy with the window. And I am as well. I guess I wanted a few more players to come in, but I understand why we're looking at it as a fan base as being happy. But are you happy? So throughout the show, feel free to share your thoughts. Are you happy with the window? And if I get a chance, I will share the comments on the show. Okay. So let's start with the news that broke very late last night. Cedric is joining Fulham, or has joined Fulham from Arsenal on loan until the end of the season. And Fulham now have cover at right back. We were talking about this on the show last night. It looked like it was going to happen. Well, it's official. It did happen. Cedric is now a Fulham player to the end of the season. So he will, I believe, give cover to Kenny Tete at right back. I don't think he was brought in to compete with him. But listen, it's up to Cedric now. Maybe he can show enough that he can make an argument to Marco that he should be playing more. But I think this is Kenny Tete's job, and Cedric has been brought in to help out in case something, if there's an injury or maybe a change of formation. But I think Kenny Tete is your right back. We will see if Cedric has something to say with him being the right back. I don't see that, but only time will tell. If you've had a chance, or have not, watch the video from Cedric on Fulham's website. Please check it out. I found it actually a little revealing. What I mean by that is that an interesting part of the video, he was asked, how long has there been interest in him from Fulham and vice versa? And he laughed that it had been a while. And he revealed during this video that it really started in the last window, at the end of last window. So it got me to think, well, if it was at the end of the window, I'm not saying this is just me just throwing it out there. Did Fulham know early on with Kevin and Babu that maybe they needed another right back? I don't know. But he revealed that late in the window, there was, there was some interest there. from Fulham. So I find that interesting. Going back to the end of the window, then he said that there was interest through his agents back in December. So this all started in December. They've been working on this for a long time. It's pretty obvious that Cedric was Fulham's number one target at right back. Even though they had a wide net, they were looking at a lot of different players. It seemed to always come back to this player. And what's interesting about this is that Cedric talks about working with Marco in the past. He's also talked about knowing several of the Fulham players already, which I found interesting. So he's already comfortable. He knows several of them. So that's a good sign. So let's just say I want to welcome Cedric to Fulham Football Club. And now it's up to him to see what kind of mark he can make with the team. Could he be there just to help out as a backup? Or can he contend for the right back position? It's all up to him, and also obviously up to Kenny Tete. But welcome Cedric to Fulham Football Club. And that happened late last night. As I mentioned on the last show, me and Emilio were talking about this. This is huge news. Fulham have officially signed Sasa Lukic. And I think he's going to I think this could potentially, we'll see how it happens, be an upgrade or give another option to Marco at central midfield with Harrison Reed and Tom Kearney. I like this signing. If you haven't watched video on him, I think he gives Fulham something a little bit different. He's very calm on the ball. He is a box-to-box central midfielder. Great passing skill, and he can tackle as well. So I really like this signing. I think potentially this could be an upgrade. We shall see, but I'm very happy with the signing of Sasa Lukic. Did I want another central midfielder? Yes, and there's speculation that Fulham were in for Sander Berge, and there was even some speculation today that they had held talks with the agent. Who knows? Didn't happen. But I am glad that they did sign Sasa Lukic. I look forward to seeing him playing with Fulham, hopefully sooner than later. And we'll see if he's an upgrade or cover. I think he might be an upgrade. So we'll see. And I like the fact that his contract is a fairly long-term contract. So welcome Sasa Lukic to Fulham Football Club. So those were the two that came in yesterday. Let's talk about, and I mentioned this earlier in the last show, players that left. And you can also mention Anthony Knockhart, but Josh Onuma and Nathaniel Chalba, two central midfielders, are now gone. And I wish them both the best of luck in their careers. Josh Onuma, very good feeling about him. I do wish him the best. And Nathaniel Chalba, I don't know if he really had enough time to really show what he could do. As another Fulham supporter said to me, he basically showed up once every, say, 3 or 4 matches. I think that might be part of the problem. I think he showed glimpses of what he could be. And I think we needed more than that. Even last season, that Birmingham City match, I'm thinking, okay, here's a player for the Premier League. Well, it never really materialized. But I wish him the best at West Brom. I wish the best for Josh Onuma at Preston North End. Also with Anthony Knockhart, best of luck at Huddersfield Town. So just want to mention some of the players that have left. Before I move on, we go through my section of hit or miss. I am going to just share a couple of comments that I'm seeing here. This is from my friend Val. I think he's talking about the window. He's very happy. Good to hear that, Val. This is from Ian Hager. We still need a forward if Mitro gets injured. We haven't got a lot up front. Ian, it's a valid argument. I've seen that over and over again. I like Carlos Vinicius, but for whatever reason, I don't think that they were actively looking for another striker. I don't think that they were. Maybe that tells you that they're happy with Vinicius. So we'll have to see. They are left now with Vinicius and Mitro. And is it enough? Only time will tell. But I hope they revisit it this summer, Ian, because I do think that they need more strikers on their roster. I totally think that they do. Okay, a couple more comments. This is from Steve Turner. Disappointed we didn't invest in a striker as support backup, play alongside Mitro in a 4-4-2 formation option. I think we have enough cover now across the board with one positional weakness in depth, which is striker. I don't want to sound negative, but I feel we could have been a little more ambitious in this window to push us forward with investment in a new striker. Steve, as I just mentioned, it's a fair criticism. They didn't do it. We'll see if they do it this summer. And this is from my friend Steve Reynolds. Small interest in August, but he states his agent was in contact in December. If he wants to join the club, why leave until the 31st? Don't trust or believe he cares. $100K a week. Okay. Well, Steve, we shall see. I understand the criticism, and this is obviously on Cedric. We shall see if he helps Fulham, if he cares. The video I found interesting, and I would recommend other Fulham supporters checking it out. Okay. So let's move on. Let's play my game of hit or miss. So let's look at the signings of the summer. Before I do that, I also want to mention one last thing. Here's a Goldman. Also want to mention, as we talked about in the last show, Shane Duffy did sign permanently to make the loan possible for Cedric. This is more of a situation to get Cedric on Fulham Football Club. And I don't know how I feel about signing Shane Duffy permanently. But they've done it, and I think it's all because of Cedric. Okay, so now let's play hit or miss. And I'm going to do it a little bit in quick fashion for this 15-minute to a half-hour show. So I'm going to go through all the signings. If you disagree with me, feel free to share it in the comment section. I'll be curious what you think, because I'm going to go through all of them. So let's start with Paulinho. Hit or miss? Huge hit. In fact, if I was to give him a rating on the season so far, I'm giving him a 9.5. This is a huge hit, a coup for Fulham Football Club. I'm giving Paulinho a 9.5. Not going to give him a 10 because I don't think that he warrants a 10. I'm giving it a 9.5. I think it's a huge hit. Let's see. I'm just going to share some more comments. Got the players in the positions we needed most. This is about the transfer window. Thank you very much, Ryan. And Steve Turner says hit. I think that's a pretty obvious hit. Let's talk about William. Now, this one, very interesting one, because he was training with Fulham for a while before he signed with the club. A lot of doubts about him because of his time at Arsenal, his age. I think this is a hit. In fact, I'm going to put William 8.5 to 9. I think this is a hit for Fulham Football Club. This is almost like found money. William is a regular starter for Fulham Football Club. Major hit. Him and Paulinho, I think it's obvious. Andres Pereira, again, doubts on him. Coming from Manchester United, playing in Brazil last season. I think Andres Pereira is a hit. I'll put him at a 7.5 to 8 so far. Let's see. Ryan Guy says surprise hit. I think he's talking about William. Surprise hit. Very interesting. And I agree with that. I think it's a surprise. But Andres Pereira, a hit. Okay. Let's now go to Dan James. Be curious if anyone's watching live. Feel free to share your thoughts on Dan James. I'm going to say miss. Big miss. And this is unfortunate because I think Fulham needed help at the winger position, and I don't think he has given them enough. So I actually think Dan James has been a major disappointment. I'm saying miss. I'm saying miss on Dan James. I think many will agree with me. Let's see what Ralph has to say. This is going back to William. A great surprise. I agree there, Ralph. Thank you very much there. Okay, guys, let's go to Kevin and Babu. This is a major miss. I think the supporters will agree with me. Kevin and Babu, miss. And I think this also has forced Fulham to get another right back with Cedric on loan. So I think this really screwed things up. Kevin and Babu, I would put maybe a 1 if I'm just going to give him a number rating just because he's played. Major disappointment. Kevin and Babu, major miss. Steve Turner agrees with me. Miss. Dan James from Ryan Guy. Might be still holding out hope. Okay. He says miss. See what happens. I'm still holding out hope as well. Here's an interesting one. And you can be on the fence on this as well. Issa Diop, hit or miss, or do we have to wait and see? If I'm going to make a decision right now, I'm going to say a hit because I think that he's going to be a starter for years to come for Fulham Football Club. I'll give him 6.5, maybe a 7. Issa Diop is a hit to me. So Steve Reynolds puts fence. All right. We got the comments coming. Val says hit for Diop. And Ryan Guy says Diop hit. Trying to keep up with all the comments. Thank you, everyone, for commenting. All right. Here's an interesting one. Shane Duffy barely played. Now, I know he was dealing with an illness, but he wasn't playing before that. This is a miss. So it's interesting that I'm talking about a miss. And Fulham just signed him permanently because they had to make room for Cedric. And that shows how they got the Mbabu one wrong. Because I don't think that they make Shane Duffy a permanent player without this situation. Shane Duffy has been a miss. Let's see. Val Colossi says, not seen enough. We haven't. But if I'm gonna make a decision on him, I'm gonna say miss. Okay. I think everyone's gonna agree with me on this one. Bernd Leno, hit. Major hit. I think, again, it could be the deal of the Premier League this summer. Could be Bernd Leno. I'm going to put this at a 9. I think he has been that good of a goalkeeper. Bernd Leno, major hit. I think it's a huge hit. A couple more comments. Again, going back to Duffy. Ryan Guy says, Duffy is useful for depth. Steve Turner says, major hit. We're talking, obviously, about Leno. And Val, agree, major hit. Okay, good stuff. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. So we got Bernd Leno as a major hit. Here's one, interesting one. Carlos Vinicius. I'm a little bit on the fence, but if you're going to make me make a decision on Vinicius right now for what we need him to be, I think it's a miss. I still think Vinicius can offer Fulham something. Right now, Carlos Vinicius is a miss because I don't think he's giving Fulham enough to the point where we're all talking about potentially getting another striker. That's why I would put Vinicius as a miss. And Val and Steve Reynolds agree with me. Miss. Okay. Now we go potentially along with Mbabu to one of the biggest misses. Layvin Kurzawa. For the amount of money that I believe Fulham are paying for him, this is a miss. This is a huge miss. And it showed itself when Anthony Robinson hasn't played. Layvin Kurzawa has been a disappointment. Good crosser of the ball. Very good. Good passer. But doesn't read the game quickly enough. And you could see the difference, a huge difference. When Jedi's out, major miss. Major miss. I'm going to put this at a 4. I think he's been a disappointment. I know he hasn't played that much, but Kurzawa, miss. Let's see what other comments we got here. We're coming in quick and fast. Goran says, we need Vinicius as backup. Steve Turner, miss on Vinicius, not Prem standard. And Thea Evans, scored against Chelsea, hit. Interesting point there, Thea. Val Colossi, miss. Let's see, what else we got? Steve Reynolds says, waste of space. Who signed him? I think you're talking about Kurzawa. I'm just taking a shot on that. Goran says, Kurzawa is abysmal in defense. And this is from the other half. I'm a new Fulham fan from Ajax. What would your player bring for striker in the offseason? My vote for Karim Adeyemi. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. It's funny because there will be several options this summer. I would have taken a shot at Moussa Dembele, honestly. I thought he would have been a very good backup. I would have done that. So we'll see what Fulham do in the summer. I wouldn't be against bringing back a player like that. That was my first thought. But thank you for sharing, my friend. Let's see what else we have. Okay. So I think we're about at the end. One more player, guys. This is an interesting one. And I'm curious if you can make a decision on this player. I'm going to say hit, but I'm going to say Manor Solomon's a hit based on the potential that he's shown us. Unfortunately, he got injured, but you can see his quality in a very short span of time. I'm going to say hit, but the jury is still out. We have to see more from him. But if we're going to make a decision right now, Manor Solomon is a hit. That's where I'm going on that. Let's see what other comments we got. This is from my friend Anthea. Kurzawa needs more game time. She's on the fence on Kurzawa. Let's see what Val says. Hit from what I've seen. I believe he's talking about Manor Solomon. Anthea's going with hit. Okay, very good. Good stuff. Very good stuff. Well, that goes through the entire squad. I want to thank everyone for playing this little game with me. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate everyone that has been watching and listening to Cottage Talk. Okay. So to end the show, coming up next, I'm going to talk about a tweet that I replied to. And it's really going to talk about why I support Fulham. Okay, to end this podcast, I actually was considering about doing a separate podcast about this called Why Fulham, but I'm going to do it at the end of this show. And the reason why I'm doing this again, I've done this over the years. People have asked me, they still ask me why I support Fulham. And I support Fulham because, there are several reasons. The biggest reason I support Fulham is because it got in my blood. It's become a part of me. I've become so much of a better person because I have supported, because of the people I've become friends with. That's what I mean, becoming a better person. It's the relationships I've made because I've become a Fulham supporter. So many friends. I've invested so much of myself into Fulham Football Club, but it really comes down to friendship. All the friends I've made. I can't even start to tell you the names of all of my friends, but that's what Fulham has given me. It's given me friendship. It might have started with Dempsey, but ultimately it's about family and friendship. That's why I support Fulham. And I like to be known as a Fulham supporter. A Fulham supporter that happens to live in the United States. But I want to be known as a Fulham supporter. So what got me to want to talk about this tonight? Well, it starts with a tweet that I saw earlier from Alexi Lalas, who's a pundit over here. He used to play for the U.S. men's national team. And I'm going to share the tweet from him because I find it revealing and it actually upset me. So I'm going to share it now on my screen so you could see that. And I'm share you my response. This is what Alexi Lalas shared yesterday. Quote, for many American soccer fans, Leeds is our weekly must-watch EPL team. Not for the history, passion, or culture, but simply pride in the U.S. soccer connection. That's the attraction and what is being sold. If that changes, maybe some will stay, but many of us will look elsewhere, unquote. Okay, so here was my response to Alexi Lalas. Alexi, you are right that many will move on from Leeds once the American players leave. But are these fans getting English football? It is tribal, gets in your blood. Myself and many American supporters stayed with Fulham after Dempsey left. Why? Because we are Fulham supporters. That's the bottom line, Alexi. That's what you don't get. We're Fulham supporters. Dempsey might have brought us here. McBride might have brought us here. Bocanegra, all of them. Tim Ream. But we are Fulham supporters who happen to live in America. It's in our blood. You might not understand that, but it's in our blood. So I wanted to share that because it really upset me today. And I've had so many people that have retweeted it and liked it. So thank you, everyone. But there's a reason why I support Fulham. There's a reason why I always say I'm a Fulham supporter. I want to be known as a Fulham supporter. I might live in the U.S., but I'm a Fulham supporter. And I am club over country. That's just me. I'm not telling everyone to be that. I am Fulham first, United States men's national team second. You might not like that. That's me. I am a Fulham supporter. Just needed to get that off my chest. As always, thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to Cottage Talk. I really appreciate that. I am obviously starting to lose my voice. Might have something to do with all the shows I'm doing. As always, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. It does help other Fulham supporters find us. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Cottage Talk. My name is Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk, now part of the talkSPORT Fan Network.